The views and opinions expressed by Hema Prapoo, our podcast guest this week, are solely their own and do not necessarily reflect the views, opinions, or policies of Microsoft. We hope you enjoy.
Welcome back to another episode of Energy 101. We are coming to you live from the Digital Wildcatters podcast studio. This show, if you're new, is for all of our energy enthusiasts out there who are maybe looking to learn more or, like us, maybe just too embarrassed to ask those dumb questions. We're here to help. I am Sydney, and we're going to check out who else we have in studio today.
I'm Jules.
And I'm Julie. And like Sydney said, Digital Wildcatters' mission is to raise energy IQ among society. So we're starting with our own.
Yes, absolutely.
And today we have Hema, and I'm not going to try your last name because you told me not to. She is the
worldwide oil and gas leader.
There we go, at Microsoft.
Yes.
Which is amazing.
That's impressive.
Yeah. And it's a new role.
It's a new role, yes. I went from joining Microsoft a year ago for Americas to getting the worldwide role now.
Congrats.
Congrats.
Crushing it.
Amazing.
Are you based here in Houston?
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, so can you tell us about your journey from... Wait, let me back up. I was looking at your LinkedIn today. You have a very impressive background. You started, I believe, as a field engineer at Baker Hughes.
Yes.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And you worked there for about 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then you moved on to, there was a bunch of companies in there. You actually founded a company.
Yes.
Was that a consulting company?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. So you've done it all. You've been in the field. You've been a founder. Now you're an executive. That's really cool. It just adds for a very interesting perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. So, my background is engineer by background.
Mm-hmm.
Always, once you're an engineer, you're always an engineer the way you think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But started my journey, did electrical power, which was a very niche in engineering degree. Wanted to build power plants for third world countries. That was always my passion. And landed up in oil and gas. Started at Baker Hughes because at that point, there was only 3 things I wanted in life. I wanted to travel, I want to make a lot of money, I want to go offshore.
I love it.
I love that. That sounds great.
Yeah, life's simple, right? Back then, when you don't have anything else.
Yeah.
But, so at that point, it was between Shell and Baker Hughes, and Baker Hughes just made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. Mm-hmm. Got on that, train and traveled the world, worked in various different locations, and very fast, I would say it was all, everything was lined up in a sense that there were very key supporters and champions in my career early on that said, you're done with the field, let's move you on and let's accelerate your career development.
I feel like that's rare.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is.
I'm assuming that is a testament to you and what they saw in you. So I hope you should be very, maybe.
No, I would say it was the right time, right place.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was invited for an event in New York City, and I did not know who was going to be there from Baker Hughes. And at that point, it was actually the senior leadership that was there. And I honestly did not know who the senior leadership was.
Yeah.
So I was having a glass of wine. They were like, well, what do you want to do in Baker Hughes? And I was like, I want to be the president of Asia. And they said, well, this is your building block to get to where you want to, and we're going to make that happen. And
that's so cool.
And the next thing, came back to Asia, and they were like, okay, this is the career track you're going to be on.
Wow.
and from then on, performance is pretty much the foundation.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't perform, you're not going to be on any kind of career track. But having the awareness of where you want to go, and then having people to help you build that along the way, and being very open to things will differ, families happen, kids happen, and then learning to still have your North Star and then trying to build towards that is key. So yeah, that was the start of it.
Right.
And, I've always been a person with I had goals, and goals with milestones. I did not just have goals without saying by a certain time. So by the time I'm 30, I want to be a mom. By the time I'm 40, I want to be a vice president. So when I hit all those goals, and when I turned 40, we went on vacation, and I was like, so what's next?
Yeah.
Midlife crisis. Oh, great. No goals. No goals after this. Great. So that's when I was, when I turned 40, it was a lot of turning points personally as well. I had to take a career break because I had few medical situations to address. And this was COVID year.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, it's going to be a 3 months break. It ended up being a year. But during that 1 year time frame, really taking the time to reflect, that's when I started my company, because I just cannot sit still. And really looking at, what was going on in the world, where was the energy industry heading to, because my heart is in it. And then really understanding what is it that I can get paid for and what the world needs. That's when I decided, okay, it was either going to be new energy or going to be the digitalization portion. So that was the start of my journey into tech.
Great. And so how long have you been with Microsoft since then? So
No, I actually had a short stop, I would say, a pit stop at Salesforce. And, it was my break into tech.
Right.
And today I actually spoke to the person who hired me into Salesforce. And he said, I chose, and he took a bet on me, right? I did not come from the tech industry, and I came from the industry side. But he said, I saw the passion in you to make this better. So that's why he hired me at Salesforce. And then now he's at Microsoft. But what that really made me think is, you come from an industry, you have your entire network in that industry, and it really, really matters the network out of your industry. Get to know people out of your industry, because you never know when those will come into play in your career. So that was the power of network for me that got me into Salesforce, and then later on got me to Microsoft.
And now here you are, just running the world.
Yeah.
Now that's a lot to do with the leadership, Amanda. When I came on board for Americas, when you're not from the tech industry,
Right.
But you came from the oil and gas industry. So play to your strength and not your weaknesses. Yes, I may not know servers and database, but I know the industry.
Yeah.
And I know the challenges the industry is facing and how technology can help resolve it.
Yep.
It's funny you say that, because we talk about all the time that unless you're really in the thick of energy, it's hard to understand.
Yes.
There's a lot of variables and a lot of players and just a lot going on. So I can imagine how that knowledge would be invaluable to a tech company that's trying to hire someone to work in their energy department.
I think it's easier for energy people to learn about the tech rather than tech people to learn about energy.
Absolutely.
Because as you're saying, your network is everything, and that's really built over years and years in the industry and being in the center of it.
Yes, and especially, if you have not walked a mile in my shoe, you don't know the challenge.
Right.
And especially coming from an industry that was, first we were, the top of the top, right? Oil and gas. And then we became the bottom of the bottom that you can think about during COVID years. And then the energy is rising again. The energy is always going to be there, but oil and gas is something that is so cyclic that, like, looking at it today, it's like, how do you make this happen for the next 30, 40 years while we transition? And this transition is not either hydrocarbon or renewable. It's both. It's going to be a mix of different energy resources to make this happen, because global population is going to continue growing.
Right.
And when global population continues to grow, energy demand will continue to grow as well. But how do we have a mix so that we don't leave anyone behind, and yet we address the climate crisis that we are in?
You're preaching to the choir. We talk about it all the time, and it's always weird to me, because I feel like we talk to so many people internally at DW that share that view, but then still, like, on the outside world, there's still so many people who don't understand that.
Yes, that's, because the industry has always been painted in such a bad reputation, right? Oh, we are the biggest, look at, someone made the comment, Exxon makes more money than God. Well, I wish I knew how much God was making, but but it comes down to, the industry has always not stood up for itself. And in reality is we have done a lot of good things for the planet that we are in. And we are truly the product from hydrocarbon fuels the world, not just in putting gas in your car, but from every single plastic equipment that you use.
Yeah, I think it just boils down to educating people. They don't know. They don't take the time to do the research. And, so that's like the main goal why we started this podcast, is just to educate people on that.
Yes, I mean there's just so much byproduct that people they always think, oh, it's just your electrify your cars and you'll be fine. Oh, where do you think the body of the electric cars
Right.
come from?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
Where do you think
And-
your electricity comes
Yeah,
from?
exactly. The
Yeah.
power. What's going to power your car?
Right.
Yes. So there's a lot of awareness that needs. Even I face it in the tech industry, is raising the
I bet.
awareness internally, raising the awareness of not just within Microsoft but within the tech industry, and then raising the awareness to the investors as well. Like
Right.
this is what the industry actually does,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where I feel we have a bigger role to play here,
Mm-hmm.
and not just say this is the worst industry or this is like tobacco, but raising the awareness, because today, if you look, we have always spoken about the crew change, the big crew change. That is happening.
Right.
But when you look at the new talent coming in, even my kids, when I talk to them, they'll be like, oh, we will never get into that industry. I was like, why not?
Mm-hmm.
You don't, and the change is, raising the awareness that this is not a dirty industry. This is an
Yes.
industry that actually fuels the world,
Yeah.
and setting the tone that we can decarbonize that industry. That is I would say, where we are doing a lot more work on
Mm-hmm.
making hydrocarbon cleaner,
Absolutely.
and then decarbonization of reducing carbon footprint in the world,
Yep.
and then transitioning into new energies.
I also wish that kids, you mentioned your kids, knew how advanced the technology really is in the industry. Like it's really like the robotics. Like I wish we could show that more. It's really, really cool. Like there's a lot of cool things out there, and it's probably one of the most technical industries out there. Like it's so complex. Before we dive into kind of talking about technology and energy and all of that, I want to ask a question, and this is going to be the first stupid question.
There's no such thing as a stupid question.
What is Microsoft's involvement in energy? Are y'all just working with the energy companies to get them their suite of products, or is there certain technology for companies that they use?
It's funny that you asked that. I'll quote my leaders. He made a comment during CERAWeek which stuck with me. He said, we went from selling office products to meeting our customers where they are. And when you look at that, there's still, on the flip side, being at Microsoft, when I talk to truly the C-suite, I was like, what does Microsoft mean to you? And they go, Office,
Right.
Teams, or when Teams work, and then you have the cloud. And that's it. I go like, no, we do a lot more than that.
Right.
And the way we go about resolving the biggest challenges the industry face, whether it's, decarbonization is one portion, but making your assets more intelligent, because you're not getting capital investment today to put into new assets, whether it's refineries or, just building new things, is where we can put intelligent operation in place. And we don't do it as Microsoft by itself. Microsoft's strength is the richness of our ecosystem. When I say ecosystem, it's partners that we have in this. So partners like Schlumberger, partners like Halliburton. Those are our partners that we can actually have the fingers to resolve the industry's challenges that we are facing.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That was a great question.
That makes a lot more sense, because I'm just sitting here thinking office products.
No, we can't be
something
$2.5 trillion market cap with just office.
I know.
Right.
I know. That's why I was like, I've got to ask this, because I know there's more technology in there, but I've just never heard of it. Like I've never maybe sought it out.
Yeah, I mean, not many people know about it. We do a lot of great work, but Microsoft is very known for this. We do great work, but we don't talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't, we don't market ourselves in that sense. We're like, let's just go ahead and do the work. That's all that matters for us, to really help our customers in, hey, we understand hydrocarbon needs to be still produced. How can we help you produce more and leave less footprint? And when I say footprint is, from the environmental perspective, how can we help you do that? And then how can we help you transition as well? So transition without leaving hydrocarbon behind. So those are the areas that we really focus on. And then, then you get all the cool stuff like industrial metaverse and robots and putting a robot on the rig. So those are the cool stuff that we do as well.
Well, speaking of transitions, technology, I think, has evolved to transition over the years. So one of the first things we wanted to ask you is, how have you seen in your largely, what's the word I'm looking for?
Storied.
That's a good
career.
one. Largely storied career. How have you seen energy technology transition as you've grown?
So think about, so maybe this was before your time, but if you were going to send a letter to someone, it used to be snail mail.
Mm-hmm.
And today you could send a text globally anywhere with WhatsApp, with all these apps that you have. And that's the same thing that the industry has gone through. When I look at where I started my career of getting data from subsurface, it would take months from offshore rig to send the data back to onshore for it to be processed, for everyone to look at it and make sense out of it. And today we can do it in minutes. You have all the network, the connections to offshore rigs to get this data real time, to make sense, to process it, to tell you whether this is worth, drilling further, where's your landing zone, what you should do. So technology has really evolved. And then when you look at the tools that are going underground, it's no more what it used to be. Last time we used to have tools, some had memories in it. Today we can transmit everything up whole. And that's where I see a lot of value of data coming into play in the energy industry. And the downside of it, there's so much data, and now you need to make sense out of it. What is the noise?
Right.
What is the data that is really going to drive very intelligent business decisions?
We've had a lot of conversations lately between some of our webinars and different podcasts. It seems to be that data management and data interpretation seems to be a hot topic right now. I feel like data is everywhere.
Yep. And I think it can kind of help guide the transition or addition, as we like to say. How do you see that happening? How do you see data helping us kind of transition?
So there's, the industry, us and our competitors have been very heavily focused on subsurface data, taking all this data, breaking down the silos, putting it together, mashing it up, and then making sense out of it so you can make faster decisions. And then you have HPC behind it that can even start identifying your tidbits. I mean, that's great. But when I look at it, I'm like, you're missing the big component, production.
Right.
So there's a lot, like in the frac world, in the shale revolution in the US, the frac data, there's a lot of data there that is being collected, and we have not made sense out of it. Can you intelligently start assessing, is this the frac design? Where's the frac going? And can you start formulating a plan of where, because there's a lot of reserves being left underground in the shale. How can you get more so you stop poking too many holes?
Right.
And I feel like that is pretty much where we need to move in the US.
Yeah.
And globally, it's about, the offshore international market is a subsurface processing, being able to really identify where do you land these wells, how much reserves can you get out of it. And once you get the reserves, start getting the reserves out. How do you control the emission? How do you make sure your pipeline capacity has got enough takeaway capacity so you're not flaring?
Right.
In the US, you don't flare, but a couple of months ago, I was flying through Middle East, no name country, but it was in the evening, and all I saw was flaring the entire way. And I was like, wow. Yeah, it's like the amount of emission, the amount of gas that you're burning. Whereas then when you turn on the other side, it's like Europe needs this gas,
Right.
Southeast Asia needs this gas. So there's a lot of wastage still happening. But now if you can start planning it using data and you're planning, tying it together, I think we can definitely address the energy trilemma that we are in.
The energy trilemma. We keep reading about that as well.
Yes.
We're trying to stay educated.
So now I'll turn the tables around. So tell me from your perspective, what do you see energy trilemma being, in your own words?
Oh God, I'm trying to remember what I read about the last time. Because we have our energy tech conference coming up, and Julie and I have been working on the agenda and topics, and the trilemma is one thing that we've thrown around.
Wait, what is the trilemma?
I want to say I read something. I want to say it was from Deloitte that put out some sort of paper on it. And it's, a dilemma is like two problems, like this kind of trifecta of issues: security, sustainability, and availability. Is it something?
That's
Am I almost right?
You're close.
Am I almost
close.
right?
Yes.
Did I get 2 out of 3?
Yeah, no, you actually got all three.
Okay.
All three. I mean, everyone names it differently,
Yeah.
but it's essentially energy security is one, right? One component out of it, looking at the war in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, energy security has really become front and center for many leaders, not just here in the US, but globally.
Right.
And the second that you touch, the environmental portion. So that's sustainability. What can we do to make sure that, you know, we are addressing global warming at the same time?
Mm-hmm.
And the third portion is the how do you make this equal?
Mm-hmm.
You know, we cannot leave any nation or anyone behind. How do you make sure that energy is accessible and energy is available and affordable on a global level?
Right.
So that's the
Affordability and
trilemma.
reliability.
Yeah.
And I think just like Jules was saying about how so many people just don't understand where their energy comes from. I think it's the same that a lot of people don't understand how many people still do not have access to reliable energy.
So right now, you know, global population is 8 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Almost 1 billion people don't have
Live in energy
reliable
poverty.
energy.
That's
And-
awful.
And if you continue this trend, population will overtake where, you know, the affordability comes in, and that will open up. Hey, we're going to leave nations behind. We're going to leave people behind.
Right.
And when you look, you know, the further you look, like countries in Southeast Asia, urbanization is happening. So urbanization, where people are starting to move more to cities, energy demand is going to grow there. So population is one, but urbanization. How do we address all of that and make sure that we don't go back to coal plants? Because coal plants is just not where we want to be.
Absolutely. So I think this leads perfectly into our next question. I think when we're talking about the energy trilemma, what's going to be important is collaboration, and not just between energy verticals, but also between tech companies and the energy industry. So if you want to touch on that.
I mean, that's where, you know, Microsoft takes a very big stand on this. Again, we don't talk about it too much, but we drive very strategic partnership. And the strategic partnership, we have our energy principles, and that is something I'm very proud to say Microsoft has a stand in the way we do business with energy companies. Be it, and you know, you could be in Saudi Aramco, you could be in Exxon, but we have our principles, and that's our, I would say, our marching orders and our North Star, our guiding star. If a company has a net zero goal, we will co-innovate with you. We will co-develop with you.
That's amazing.
And if you don't have that, we'll help you get there.
Right.
We'll help you develop it. We'll help you get to your net zero goal. And alongside that, the partnership, it evolves over time. It went from, okay, we have the technical expertise in the tech world. You have your domain expertise in what you do. How can we collaborate? How can we bring this to the market to be a product the rest of the world can do and use, so that it's not just going to be a partnership with you and we own it, but we can share it with the world to make it much better for the entire industry. And that's what Microsoft really strives to do.
That's awesome.
That
I
is
love
awesome.
hearing that a company like Microsoft is invested in that. 'Cause like you said, and I get it, there are a lot of companies that don't talk about the good that they're doing. Even the companies that are in energy struggle with talking about the good that they're doing. So I think it's very encouraging that Microsoft is playing ball and helping these companies meet their targets.
I mean, I can openly talk about it. Took us, I mean, the announcement's out. It took us a long time to commit to a particular country in the Middle East, no names mentioned, to build a data center there. And the moment the country and the biggest oil producer there committed, we have a net zero goal.
Yeah.
We made the commitment, we'll build a data center there. It's Microsoft has its stand. And, you know, that's one thing I have a lot of respect for this company is when we make a stand, we stick by it. We don't just play with anyone, but we play with the right players.
I think we try to have that mantra here as well.
Yeah. I feel like we were talking about that today. Just having a mission and letting that really drive you and drive your decisions, whether it's a really small decision or a really big decision, always making sure you align with your values. I love that. And knowing Microsoft does that is really cool.
Yeah,
it's probably why it's been a long.
Yeah, I mean, that's what really attracted me to Microsoft was, you know, we have a mission statement of empowering every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. And when you translate that from an energy perspective is we are going to empower every organization to provide clean, affordable, and reliable energy.
I love that.
And that would mean giving equal opportunity to everyone everywhere.
Yeah.
Love it.
I love that too.
Can we talk about like policy changes or initiatives that we need to drive the transition forward?
So you mean the carrot that is dangling in the US right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about the
Absolutely.
IRA policies that are out. I mean, when you look at the decarbonization efforts in the US, it was very slow.
Mm-hmm.
And with the recent IRA bill, I always tend to joke, now we have the carrot. We have a 10-year carrot, and let's try to grab this carrot as much as possible. But out of that, the good part is there's billions and billions. I believe it's around $400 billion going into decarbonization and making the new energy infrastructure, which for those who have been in Texas, seeing what happened during the winter is something we don't want to run into again.
Right.
But at the same time, this has opened up a more competitive landscape versus a collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Microsoft is taking the stand of how can we help companies collaborate so we can start building solutions and building and empowering customers who are getting into direct air capture or CCS to say, hey, this is the platform.
Mm-hmm.
We have proven it in Europe. We have done it in Europe. Now let's bring that platform here and show customers, hey, it's an open ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
Let's bring as many players into it so we can start doing what's right. And all of y'all can reap the benefit of the IRA.
Right. And so in your opinion, maybe not Microsoft's, but in your opinion, is that the best way to ensure, like we keep talking about, that no one gets left behind?
Yes. And when you look at that, in Europe, it's different. They have a stick, right? They're like, you have to do this. You're going to get penalized.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas in US, it became a carrot, which is fine. But how do you make sure companies remain competitive, but still make sure that the technology is an open ecosystem that the rest of them can use?
Right.
And that's what we're striving to do.
Awesome.
What are some of the skills that are needed for the future of energy? Because it is going to become, a lot different as we move forward. What do you see a gap in right now, and what do we need moving forward?
I mean, there's few areas to address, right? When I look at whether it's an oilfield service company, an oil and gas company, chemicals company, digital has to be your backbone. And the reason I say digital has to be your backbone is because tomorrow or a month's time, oil could potentially drop to minus 25 again. God knows, right? We always have this black swans and
Please
this black
don't.
swan.
Yeah, please don't.
Yeah, nobody wishes for it, but black
No.
swans do happen. We don't have control over it. So before that happens, how do you prepare yourself to be more agile in the way you operate and not lay off a bunch of people, right? Be the right size, not lay off a bunch of people, and make sure you're agile enough to address the market changes and the uncertainty that we live in. So we have seen this, and I truly believe digital can help you get there. Forecast the market, move assets, move the way you operate to address that. So that's one part. And second, obviously, everyone's heard about this AI.
Right.
So
What's that?
well, Chat GPT could ask.
Right.
You could ask Chat GPT that.
Yeah.
No, but we are in the Industrial Revolution 4.0, right? And in the midst of it, I would say AI is where we are today in that entire digitalization space. AI is where we are. And I would definitely encourage everybody to learn a little bit about AI. You don't have to be a coder, but you need to know what AI can do for your business. You need to know what AI can do for you. If you know what AI can do for you, then you can know how AI can help your company. That goes a long way. And there is obviously a very scary thing. Oh, AI is going to replace jobs. The way I look at it, AI is going to make you upskill yourself. It's going to take away all those routine tasks that you have to do. So you can actually free yourself to doing more innovative things. Just start thinking out of the box.
Right.
I mean, I get, sometimes I'll be like, God, I wish AI could do this for me, but it's not quite there yet. I wish it could do a digital twin and do presentations for me, but we're not quite there yet. But then you start saying, okay, if AI takes away 20% of my time of doing all this, routine tasks, that frees up for me think about the bigger challenges that we are facing and how can I put this jigsaw puzzle together. So that's the way I see AI. And, right behind AI, if I had money to bet on, I would say quantum computing is going to be coming up next.
Yeah.
That is the industrial revolution that we are in right now. But on the flip side, when I look at people, talent coming into the workforce, I said, the AI, the technology that you're learning, that is all the left side brain thinking. No computer can replace empathy.
Absolutely.
Right.
No computer can replace compassionate and caring about the society you're in. So that's where, whenever I talk to new talent, people who are in college and everything, it's like focus on that as well, because that no computer is ever going to replace that.
Right.
The high touch and being able to talk to people.
Yep.
So that's very
Your
important
soft
still.
skills.
Yes,
Absolutely.
soft skills.
Yeah, I really like your mindset around that. It's a very abundant mindset of, hey, use AI to basically outsource what you can so you can make more use of your time, whether that be learning how to innovate or maybe just spending time with your family. Like it just frees up your time to be able to have more time, which we all need.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. So I love that.
Yeah, Microsoft is very big on work-life balance. And that's why every time I see an article come out, we talk about productivity. We talk about how we're making the tools work for us first so that we can be more productive in what we're doing and give us more time with our family. That's very, very important in the company, in my leadership. I mean, I have said in one meeting when I took vacation and my boss immediately texts me, vacation means vacate.
Vacation means vacate.
Got your message, boss. This is the only call. So yeah. And that goes a long way. I came from oil and gas where vacation did not mean vacation, right?
Does
You
not
had to wait.
exist. And you're also a founder, which vacation does not exist. So I'm sure it's a mindset flip when you're working for a bigger corporation where they like basically force it.
Yes.
I haven't got to that part of my career where I'm like forcing it yet, but I know I'll need it one day.
Yes, you do. I mean, because, mental health is an issue. We tend to come from a society that don't want to acknowledge it. But if burnout happens and if you don't take the time to rest, and when I say rest, really reset and not think about work, you are going to get burnout.
You are, and you're not gonna be able to have those creative ideas.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Will help you innovate.
Your brain gets fried.
Yep.
It does. So talking about, speak of new talent, when you were new, I know you started as an engineer. Did you always want to get into energy, or was that kind of just where you ended up and then you found this passion for
No, so
the sector?
I love maths and I love physics, and I wanted to go be a professor. And my dad told me, you're not going to make any money, so you need to go do engineering. And coming from a very Southeast Asian family, it was either engineer, lawyer, or doctor, or you're nothing. You know? So I was like, okay, great. I'm not going to be a lawyer. I'm definitely not going to be a doctor. You go to school too long. So decided to get into engineering. And from there, I realized, I've always been I would say, I cared about people generally. So I wanted to build power plants. Yeah. And then I was going to go work for UN. It's still a dream, maybe someday. But when I graduated, completed my master's, when I came back to Malaysia at that point, the industry that was hiring was oil and gas. So that's what got me into oil and gas. And from then on, I just fell in love with what we were doing. We were not just, we were getting oil out of the ground, but why were we getting oil out of the ground? And that went a long way for me, especially when certain of the projects that we worked on, and this was back in Asia, the moment we hit a very big find, I immediately knew the native people were going to get a lot of the money out of it.
Right.
So that goes a long way. And these are people who live in absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So that always made me happy. When we find the oil, we know the local people will get it. So
that's like a warm and fuzzy oil and gas story. I like it.
I know.
So what advice would you have for people entering the energy sector? I think a lot of our listeners are either seasoned professionals who are just interested in learning about topics outside of their day-to-day, or people who are, new to the industry and just kind of want to broaden their general knowledge. So what advice do you have for them?
First thing is play your strength, not your weakness.
Yeah.
Know your strength. Be a subject matter expert with the things that really resonates with you. You can't know all of it, right? But you can have the breadth of all of it, but really be in depth with something that resonates with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then understand, one is that's passion and what you're good at. Are you good in operations? Are you good in sales? Are you good? Some people just don't want to talk to customers. That's fine. Then you know where your strengths are. And then what is going on in the world? And what can you get paid for? You can be really want to do one thing and then you're like, oh, I'm not going to get paid for that. Great. So really putting this together. So that 1 year during the COVID year where I took that year off, there is a very good book that I was introduced to called Ikigai. Ikigai is a Japanese way of thinking, that leads to happiness. And the way there's this blue zones globally where people live a longer life because they're happier. And that gave me that 4 pillars to look at.
I know. We need to look that up.
Yeah, Ikigai. It says, what you're good at, what you love, what you're good at, what can you get paid for, and what the world needs. If you can intersect those 4, you can really find, what is it that you're going to do. Because then you won't come to work thinking, oh God, this is a job. You'll never feel it's a job. You get excited doing it every day.
I feel like one of the good things that came out of COVID is I feel like whether it's because they were furloughed or lost their jobs or just started working from home, I think a lot of people really did some soul searching and kind of went back to that exact notion, finding out what's important to you and what kind of gets you going, and whether that was a side hobby they picked up or they completely switched careers. I always think about I know a lot of people that really took that time and their life kind of did a 180 for the better.
Yes. And sometimes a 180 doesn't need to just happen like that, right? You could try it as a side gig, see whether you really like it, whether you can actually make some money.
Right.
And then you can go full blown into it.
Yeah.
I'm going to sidetrack the conversation a little bit and go back to quantum computing.
Were you going to ask what it is?
I find it, so I listened to this podcast a while back and it was probably a Joe Rogan podcast. And it was so interesting, but I would love for you to explain what it is.
Okay, because I'm I don't know.
So think about, so you have your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Think about a supercharged computer that can do everything much faster than you can ever think about. That's what quantum computing. So it's got artificial intelligence, got everything you can think about with the click of a button.
Will it have an interface like a computer, or is this? Okay.
That's the plan. That's the vision.
Okay, but it can be used for
a lot of different things. We're not quite there yet. Microsoft is invested in it, deeply invested in it. I have gone to our corporate office in Redmond, and we get quantum computing subject matter experts come and talk, and it'll be poof.
Right.
Yeah. I'll be whoa, I don't, but the things that they're building is state of the art, testing out different things. And out of it, one of the challenge when we went up to Redmond, a customer brought up, can we remove methane from hydrocarbon? And that was something they were like, let's see whether quantum computing can resolve that. So it's very interesting to see that the challenges that we are facing and whether quantum computing can resolve it.
I was just about to ask what it does for the energy, what it means for the energy industry.
Can we get the hydrocarbon, and can we strip out a way that methane doesn't get leaked into the environment?
So interesting.
So those are the kind of big challenges that we're looking at. Can quantum computing help this? Can artificial intelligence help this?
Right.
So I would say we are still at the very start of it. But it's a journey that we have to be on.
Absolutely.
It's very exciting just seeing that that's something that's going to happen within the net. And I'm sure it'll come faster than we think. Kind of I know AI has been in development forever, but it feels like it was just
overnight.
Boom. Yeah. But with AI, obviously that's because of ChatGPT, right? The whole fun stuff of AI. But when you look at one of the AI use case that is out there is, as females, we take, the mammogram for breast cancer prevention. There is a use case out there that very early detection, you can start saying whether you are actually going to have a tumor or not.
Wow.
Yes.
Through the mammogram?
Through the AI.
Yeah, through AI, like
through AI
imaging.
Wow.
and imaging. So that's why I'm like, wow, that is game changing.
Yeah.
Right?
It really
I mean,
is.
If you think about 5-10 years ago, oh, I feel a lump. Okay, you've got breast cancer. Now I can take a shot, and yeah, in 2 years you're going to get breast cancer.
When I think sometimes I forget that there are other uses for AI other than the day-to-day chat GPT and
Yes,
energy that,
yeah.
especially for the medical community, I'm sure here in Houston with all the research hospitals that it's going to do some really great things.
Yeah, I mean that's where we see, okay, if you can do this with a scan, now can you take that, put it in energy, and start looking at where the frac is going, and tell me if I can make more oil and open up this frac
Oh,
longer.
that's very cool.
Okay, so that's why that's why I feel a lot of, if you can free up the
Right.
non-essential tasks, it really makes you think, open up your mind to think
Yeah.
about different ways of using technology.
Absolutely. So I guess other than quantum computing and AI, what else gets you excited about the energy landscape over the next, 5-10 years?
Oh God, where do I
Or was
start?
that it?
No. I mean that's like that's the core of what we
Yeah.
do. But there's one that really gets me very excited, is the industrial metaverse. If you look at kids today, I mean, so I have did a big mistake by buying the
Oculus.
Oculus. Yeah.
Mhm.
So there have been times I come back and my son's still awake 10:30 at night on a
Yep.
school night playing game. I'm like, that's not what it's for. But when you look at the future of, I'll talk education.
Right.
So today we are paying a lot of money to get into schools, and then the cost of living. Can we use that in the future to give them the experience to be in a classroom
Mm-hmm.
without paying that price tag? And then that opens up more entry into universities.
Right.
And you can do it. You can be sitting in Columbia, attending an Ivy League school here, and not having to pay that cost of living here.
Mm-hmm.
If you start thinking about how can we use those kind of technology to make sure that everyone gets the chance. So that's where I see a lot of the wearables, the industrial metaverse, that we call it industrial metaverse. The future of that lies.
Right.
And that's one thing that gets me excited. And then the partners, we have startups that very niche technologies, but some of the startups that I say, I'm like, yes, that's what we want. So that gets me
Right.
very excited. Decarbonization technologies that are coming forward, direct air capture technologies that are coming forward. That is where Microsoft has got an entire climate initiative fund where we invest in these new startups. And that gets me very excited. Like, how can we make it so that it's not just one technology out there proven? How
Right.
can we help more technologies so that the cost of building this gets cheaper?
Yeah. I kept thinking about the startups, and I feel like us two here, I had never worked for a startup before. I didn't have anything to do with any sort of startup in any industry before I started working here. And it is really exciting, and you can tell, like at our energy tech nights, when there's something, just by like the questions people are asking after some of these companies pitch, that you're like, this is going to be a thing. Like people are already excited about it. Like, this is obviously something that is needed.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, our hope obviously is that they walk out of that event with either meetings or potential clients or
Yes.
investors, something. That's kind of always our goal. But it's really fun seeing them come to fruition. So I'm
It
excited
is.
to see which of our pitch applicants and companies, startups we work with, I'm excited to see where they are in 5 years and who's making $1 bajillion, who's changing the world. And I can't wait.
And in this process, I've met people who could have retired, could have
Yeah.
just done absolutely nothing and been fine. But
The good ones never.
the good ones come back because,
Yeah.
hey, I want to make an impact.
Yeah. That's
know.
the drive. That's why they can't quit. Because like, I
Yes.
haven't made a big enough impact. And they know they can do more.
Yes. I mean, there's one, they're the very well-known brothers in the US in the oil and gas side. And they sold their company, could have retired, decided, no, coming back to make an impact. And
Yeah.
and we all know who it is.
We
But
love those brothers.
Yeah,
We do.
So I mean, they came back because when I look at their history, I'm like, God, you guys need to write a book about this.
Oh, for sure.
The impact that they're looking to do on decarbonization and providing zero carbon electricity to the grid here in the US, and then decarbonization of the rest of the world. Those are the things that, those are what legacies are built on, right?
Absolutely.
It's not how much they sold their first company for, but
Right.
the impact that they're making. And that's what, that's where I feel the people really can drive that change. And today, it's no more about just generations before. It's about how much money can I make. And today, it's about how much impact can I make.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I think Chuck will be happy, plug his YDC roast. There's a charity event this fall that all of those brothers are the guests of honor that will all be getting roasted for charity. So you should go. We'll be there.
Yeah, they're quite something.
Yes, they are. They are. So I think,
Rapid fire.
to wrap up, we have 3 rapid fire questions that Jules always takes. This is her favorite segment.
Oh. We touched on this earlier, but number 1, why should we care about the energy industry?
Because that's the fuel for the world. And do you want to go back living on tree houses and hunting for your food with a spear?
No, thank you.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. So that's and then wearing loincloth or whatever it is. So no. So I mean, it fuels the world, right? That's the thing. We forget the byproducts. It fuels the world. That's why you have to care about it.
Right. And then number 2 was, what's the number 1 misconception about the energy industry?
That it doesn't fuel the world. It thinks
I know those two go hand in hand.
Yeah, all you think it's providing gas to my car. No, it's not. It does a lot more than that. Yeah. That's the first misconception about it. And the second is they think we are causing damage to the environment every time. That's not true.
Yeah. And then last one, what's your most embarrassing story in your career?
Oh boy, where do I start? We've had
some good ones. We should do at the end of the year. We should go back and rank everyone.
Yeah.
Make a compilation of all.
Yeah.
Where do I start? Oh, there's been way too many embarrassing ones. I
feel like everyone has one come to mind, and they're like, "Oh,
that's
I
probably
can't
not
that
Maybe not that one. Maybe not that one. I'd say most embarrassing. Oh, that's a tough one, though. Most embarrassing was, when I first started my career as a field engineer, I straight went working offshore. Mm-hmm. And I never knew that I was going to be the only female on the offshore rig for 28 days straight.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with that came many challenges, including do not ever go to a TV room.
Oh,
yeah.
No.
I've heard, yep.
Yeah, don't accidentally open the door. Don't. Just stay in your rooms. Yeah, so that was, I would say, my most embarrassing thing that happened was like, I walked out. No, actually, I was in the TV room, and then they had the crew change, and they didn't know I was in there. Then they started playing certain kind of movie. And
that happened. That's so, I wonder if they still do that to this day.
I'm sure they do.
That was almost 25 years ago.
Okay.
So
I'd be
that was
shocked
back
if
in
they did
Asia.
it.
So that was even worse. So
I'm just very, I'll have to ask Colin.
Yeah.
We'll see
Yeah,
what he
that
did
was
in his
that
time
was
off.
I would say my most embarrassing, but it was even more embarrassing for the people who are doing it because they're like, oh shit, we didn't know she was
I'm
ladies
sure.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they aren't used to women.
Nope. At that point, nope. And just even if you're wearing a coverall, just be very, very thoughtful about what else you're wearing under the coverall. So.
I think we've talked to enough people to know that we are not meant for rigs.
No, I disagree.
I don't want to do it.
Julie
wants to.
It's my dream to go
I don't want
offshore. I would love one day as a roughneck. I'm from Midland, by the way, so
I'm from Florida.
Very much like.
So I won't be doing that.
You'll be wrestling alligators.
Yes. Right.
I'm like, and I have 6 brothers. So no, we didn't live on an offshore rig together, but our household was somewhat like it.
Yeah, but I mean, out of a lot of, there's more embarrassing stories, but it all comes down to, it builds your character.
Sure.
When someone tells you, you don't, you don't give up. I say, well, been around the block many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, one way or another, we find a way.
Yeah.
And it is a complex issues that we're facing, complex challenges. And that's what it builds your character. If you're early on already like, oh no, the offshore is not for me, I'm going to cry.
Mhm.
And then it's just not going to build the kind of person that you are.
Yeah.
I might be able
Builds
to do
grit.
it for one day as long as it's not in Canada. We had someone on the podcast recently who did that in Canada in the winter,
I
and
couldn't
it
do it.
sounded
Yeah.
like
Negative
you were just
58
frozen the whole
degrees
time.
Fahrenheit.
Oh no, I was in Scotland and I got chicken pox on the rig
Oh my god.
in the winter month.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So do they have, this is going off topic here a little bit, do they have like medical staff?
I was
on
just
their
about to ask
jobs?
that.
No, they
Okay.
have like full blown medical stuff. A chopper can't get you, and I didn't even know I was getting chicken pox. I've never had chicken pox, and I was like, oh, something's itching, and it was like snowing, and I was like,
Oh no.
it can't be the snow. I'm not allergic to snow.
Allergic
Then someone,
to frozen
you got
water.
chicken pox, and I'm like, oh great, on the rig in Scotland in the winter month. Yeah.
Oh,
no.
man.
Mm.
What a story. I feel like, do you tell these stories to your kids?
No, no, save them the grief.
Yeah. How old are your kids?
Oh, my son is 13 going on 65 and my daughter is 10 going on 16. So,
Okay.
yeah.
I have, my kids are similar ages, so I was gonna ask, but yeah, we they don't really care about our careers at this point.
No, my son, he is like a wise old man. He goes, I don't want to make lots of money. I just want a small house and I want to save the planet.
Oh.
Then my 10-year-old girl, she goes, I'm going to be very, very rich or I'm going to live in the forest and hunt for my food.
There's no in between.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
in between. It's like either this or this.
All
So-
of mine, besides the youngest, he's like your typical youngest child. They all want to be entrepreneurs and they all want lots of money. But my youngest is like, I'm never leaving you and I will not work. He's like, being grown up sucks. I don't want to do it.
Just marry rich.
There we go. I'll tell him that.
Marry rich.
Jules,
make it
there's
stay.
still time for you.
I know. Fact of the day.
Very rich.
You can do
Not
it.
Fact of the day. Tip of the
Someone's
day.
got to do it, and it's got to be you.
Hit me up.
I love it. This was a great episode. I'm really excited.
I am too. It was fun. Thank you for
It
coming
was
on.
definitely.
Yeah,
I
thank you
mean,
so much.
we went off script completely, but
Is there anything else you'd like to?
no. I mean, my only thing is advice to people: now keep an open mind.
Yeah.
The energy industry is not the devil's.
Mhm.
We've been called that many, many times. We're
Yep.
not. And the tech industry is not the devil's too, because people, when I left the oil industry to get into tech, they're like, oh, you went to the other side of the devil. I'm like, no, neither one are the devils. We just need to learn to work together and make it better.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Agreed.
Great.
Well, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Oh, LinkedIn.
Perfect.
You know, LinkedIn's
That's
a part
where
of
you guys
Microsoft.
found each other.
LinkedIn's a part of Microsoft.
Yes.
So literally and figuratively LinkedIn in every sense of the word. And that's where
Yes.
you guys found each other.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And I try my best to there's a lot of people who reach out. I need just time to know how you did it. And I try my best to respond. But sometimes it takes me time because
Yeah.
of, the transition I'm going through too. But I try my best. But one thing is be very clear of your ask and
Mhm.
why you're asking that.
Mm-hmm.
Some people I read people pretty well and I know when they're not being forthcoming.
Mm-hmm.
And some are very forthcoming. This is what I want, and I just want to learn from you, which is great. But some are not. So just be very honest with yourself, right? So
Yeah.
That's great
I love
advice.
that.
All right. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want more information on the company or any of the podcasts, you can find us at digitalwildcatters.com or on LinkedIn or on our socials managed by Jules.
The one and only.
And follow us all on LinkedIn.
Yes. And follow
Julie,
us on
Cindy,
LinkedIn.
Jules, Hema.
Hema, especially Hema. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Thank you.